Hey guys, I know this morning's pretty crazy, and I definitely wanted to get this video out before I go to work. So I just wanted to look at some of the major indices as well as Apple. So you can see in the pre-market things look very, very ugly. Um, and a lot of Bitcoin basically got liquidated yesterday. So Bitcoin's looking pretty ugly. So let's just kind of see where that's at real quick. So yeah, right now, as you can see, Bitcoin's looking pretty darn ugly. Now, where do I think Bitcoin can possibly find support? Well, I think it's going to look a lot like the S&P 500. I mean, we have this down support line right here. So, maybe we could catch a bounce right around here, like 22,800 could be possible, and we'll see. Now, if we crack underneath this, I think things definitely look ugly. But right now, we could just be moving within this wedge right here. So we'll see if we bounce back here. And then we'll also see if we just make it to the top of this wedge and then reject again. So I do think things are a little bit interesting here. And then I'm going to go straight back to SPY. So with SPY, right now, we're seeing something pretty similar that could happen. We could fade all the way to this bottom line. As you can see, this trend line right here has caught all of these massive rallies. So we'll see if we can rally off this 373-ish level. And if we look right here, it was resistance right there. And then when we broke past this area, we had this rally. And then we came back and almost retested this area right here again just to rally off it. So I do think this could be a shorter term support. We'll see if this holds up. But if it doesn't hold up, then yeah, you're going to know that we're going to see some serious pain in here. Now, do keep in mind that we are starting to build out some gaps. I'm going to look in the after hours. So yeah, right now we have a massive gap that we're building out right here, as you can see. So this gap that's literally all the way up here, going all the way down there. So we have this gap that's almost, yeah, it's about like 10 points here. A little bit less, 9 points, I guess. It's a 9 point gap. So we're building out some massive gaps here. So on top of this gap we have right there, we're also going to have another gap, like basically this 9 point gap right here. And right now we're underneath these Bollinger Bands. So these Bollinger Bands, every now and then they do get invalidated, as you can see right here and right there. So we could see something like that. We could just go all the way down here and then we could rally back strong and then we could get back within this Bollinger Band. Now, of course, that doesn't have to happen. I am just listing out some potential scenarios for us to be making predictions. So that's kind of what the market's all about, in my opinion. When we're doing technical analysis, it's all about making predictions. So if I'm making this prediction right now, I could be entirely wrong, but I would say that we could sell off a little bit more. We could bounce off this trend line, and we could get back within these Bollinger Bands. Or, you know, I think the more dangerous situation is if we just have a strong rally right at open, fill that gap that we just created today, as you can see, and then just fade back down. That's probably like the worst case scenario. If we just all of a sudden have this massive rally, trap a bunch of people, and then fade off. So I would prefer not to see that. If we could see more selling as soon as the market opens and then we hit that bottom trend level and then we rally, to me, that's a better sign. Now, I know some of you might be thinking, oh, wait, it's better if we sell off more. And this guy's crazy. And, you're probably right to say that I'm a little bit crazy. But, if we do fade all the way to here and then we see that rally, then I think that's a bit more of a shorter term bullish scenario. And then we'll see, do we just make it back to these gap levels or what happens. But essentially right now, what the options market priced in last week was 376.51 for SPY on the downside and 403 on SPY for the upside. But at that time, the market didn't know about this crypto liquidation, so the situation could change. So we'll see. I mean, we'll definitely see how bad things can get. But right now, this is kind of like my base case right here, this trend line. Now let's go over and look at the Qs. So I'm thinking about a similar thing with the Qs, but with the Qs, it's not as clear, this trend. I'm thinking it could be this line right here, but there's a few ways to draw it. I mean, there's a lot of different ways to draw it. I could just move this down a little bit to catch this area, and then catch some of these support areas. But right now I'm drawing it this way, and yeah, the Qs basically have a lot more to fall than the SPY. So I'm thinking, this could go as low as 268 before it sees that rally. Or actually, let's see. Yeah, probably around 268 before it sees that rally. Or maybe we could just go down and fill this gap right here at 275, and then we see that rally. So yeah, a lot of different scenarios that could play out. And then we could even do something like a double bottom right here at 280-ish, which is kind of where we're at right now. We're right around this old support that we found right here over in near the end of May. So if we see that double bottom type action and then we rally off that, then I think that's going to look good in the shorter term, and maybe we could start filling these gaps to the upside. And let's just throw on the Bollinger Bands. So yeah, if we're looking at the Bollinger Bands, basically we're below it right now. And that's essentially 2 deviations away from the 20-day moving average. So we're pretty oversold. And you can see that there are times where we peaked out before, and then we hit this bottom trend line. So maybe we could see that same situation. Now with Apple, yeah, Apple basically hit that bottom Bollinger Band on Friday. Pretty close to it, I guess. It was like almost like 1% away. But right now we're around 133, so that's all the way down here. Now I wouldn't say that there's a whole lot of support right around this 133 area. It's essentially just let's see. We're essentially just around this little gap area right here and this sideways action. So if we do break below that, I think the next area could easily be this 127-ish area. And if we do look, we have this downtrend support line that it could bump into. And there's also this area. Let me see right here. Let me just zoom in a little bit for you guys. I'm going to take out the Bollinger Bands and the moving averages. So you can see this is kind of like an area that we swung back and forth below for a little bit. So this 127 area is resistance right there, as you can see. It was acting as support right here. And then when we broke this area, we had this little area of consolidation and then this massive rally up. So, the situation that we could go into if we break under this 127 area could definitely be in these low 120s, and that's going to line up with Apple being around 20 PE. So do watch out for that. I'm going to go ahead and draw that line right there. So I would say 120, 127 would be like the next stronger support if we go all the way down to these 127 levels. But at that point, we would have invalidated this downtrend line. So I do think things get a lot more ugly. Now, lastly, DIA. So with DIA, chart's looking pretty similar. We do have this downtrend line. And I could probably draw this a little bit more up. Yeah, like right there. So we could fall as low as 301 if we want to test this downtrend line. And if we look at the significance of 301, there's this support right here. And then you can see that once we broke past this area, we had this rally. So there's not a whole lot of support at this area either at 301, but we do have this down support line. So if this doesn't hold, then all hell is probably going to break loose, and we could literally get as bad as filling that gap right there all the way at 279. So that's kind of like the crappy situation that we could have. And if you see, it's synonymous with this old area where we gapped. So that's kind of like my worst case if we start breaking under these areas, because there's not a whole lot of support, as you can see here on the Dow. I mean, maybe this 285 could act as some sort of support. That's the previous top right there before the pandemic crash. It's also this prior resistance right here. So yeah, that could be a potential area that we find some support. So that's really if we break underneath this line. So I hope this video was helpful to you guys, and definitely stay safe today.